fourth Taiwan Strait crisis is going to happen. So what exactly is this all about? There are two different Chinas that were in popularity. What are the first, second, third and the so-called fourth Taiwan Strait crisis? The United States Naval Fleet, the 7th Naval Fleet came in rescue for Taiwan, and finally China had to take a turn back. The American stand is on Taiwan is strategic ambiguity. The whole of the international world is talking about the Taiwan Strait crisis. To be very precise, it's the fourth Taiwan Strait crisis is going to happen. So what exactly is this all about? And the recent visit of the US Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, to Taiwan was seen as a grave provocation by China. And that is why the Chinese people conducted the biggest military exercise of the recent times. The whole of the airspace were blocked. The whole of the sea shipping lanes were completely crossed and blocked. And the Taiwan airspace during the time were buzzing with the sounds of the Chinese aircraft trying to terrorize the people of Taiwan. So why is China doing this? And what exactly is the problem of Taiwan? And where do you fit in United States of America in this equation? In this ExplainWallah for IAS, let's find out the Taiwan crisis and where China, US and Taiwan fits into the whole equation. In order to decode the full Taiwan Strait crisis, we need to know that there are two different Chinas that exist. And if you're hearing it for the first time, there are two different Chinas that were in popularity. And one is the PRC, or the People's Republic of China, which is the present-day China. And second is the ROC, or Republic of China, which is Taiwan. So obviously, China was claiming Taiwan. So two Chinas existed, and I'll come to the history part very soon in this. So basically understand that China was having a big rift between Taiwan, and China was claiming Taiwan. So the question comes, Taiwan is a small island, almost 100 miles off the coast of Southeast China. It is also in the South China Sea, almost 100 miles off the Southeast China. And the strait, the Taiwan Strait, is almost 100 kilometers, which separates Taiwan from continental Asia. And the biggest dispute come here. The Taiwan Strait here, China considers the Taiwan Strait as internal territorial waters. Instead of considering it as international waters, China is considering the whole Taiwan Strait as a part of the internal territorial waters of China. So that is the reason why any shipping vessels, anything that is on the part is actually blockaded and considered as Chinese authority. So this is something that Taiwan is again protesting against this. So I think you must have got the geography of where the Taiwan Strait is exactly situating. And in order to understand the more important aspects, it is very important that we know some history. Why two Chinas came into existence? Now let's find out and decode what the history part is all about. The first known settlers in Taiwan were the Austronesian people who came from the present-day southern China. When you have to talk about a history, I think 1895, the first Sino-Japanese War was an important time when China was defeated by Japan and Japan took over the control of Taiwan. And years later, during the Second World War time, Japan was defeated and Japan had to relinquish, and China got back Taiwan's control. And few years later, after the Second World War, what really happened is a big civil war broke out in China. Once the civil war broke out, the two factions started to war, and one faction led by the communist Mao Zedong, and the second was the Kuomintang party government led by Chiang Kai-shek. And Chiang Kai-shek's Kuomintang was defeated by Mao Zedong, and what happened is the Kuomintang, Chiang Kai-shek and almost 1.5 million people, they fled to Taiwan and started to control Taiwan from that place, and the communist-led Maoist Zedong and the People's Republic of China started to control the mainland of China. So this is a small sequence of history, and now you know how a great political entity called China was divided, like West Germany and East Germany, North Korea and South Korea, and North and South Vietnam. And finally, the two Chinas were divided. So this is a sequence of history that we have to know. And next is, we have to understand what are the different Taiwan Strait crises. Now everybody is talking about the fourth Taiwan Strait crisis. So what are the first, second, third, and the so-called fourth Taiwan Strait crisis? Let's find out. The fourth Taiwan crisis is obviously the same thing that we started this discussion. It's the Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, which definitely provoked China. So this is seen as a brewing or starting fourth crisis. But what about the first three crises? In order to understand this crisis, I think you need to get this equation correct. First thing, you need to know that China is involved in this and there is Taiwan involved in this, which obviously is the two Chinas involved in this. And in the middle, you have the United States of America involved in this. So that is a three-line system. And why United States of America is very important in this regard is the location of Taiwan. We have discussed that the Taiwan is an island situated almost 100 miles in the South China Sea, connecting the Southeast China. And it sits on the first island chain. That means it sits on the first island chain, which is near to almost many of the US-friendly territories. So that is a reason why United States of America has a strategic interest here. Many of the US-friendly territories are near to Taiwan, and that is giving a strategic importance to United States of America. Now let's talk about China and Mao Zedong. He was a man of great national reunification dreams, and he always wanted to get back Taiwan. And it is said that he always made efforts to get back Taiwan. But he very well knew that the Chinese army during the early 1950s was not equipped with a great navy so they can easily take Taiwan. And this is the moment when United States of America offered help for Taiwan. The then President of United States of America, Harry S. Truman, had given help to Taiwan under its protection. In case of a problem, in case of a crisis or a dispute, the US naval fleet will actually come for the rescue of Taiwan. And China knew this context very well, and that was the reason when Chinese people did not have a navy might, but still they attacked few islands in Taiwan. They created few attacks in Taiwan in 1954 and in 1958, and both the cases, you know that the United States Naval Fleet, the 7th Naval Fleet, came in rescue for Taiwan, and finally China had to take a turn back. So in 1954 and 1958, you see that China created an attack in Taiwan, and immediately the US help came in support of Taiwan, and that is how the first and second Taiwan crisis started and ended. And after some time, after 1958, the second Taiwan crisis came to an end, and the China's issue of Taiwan was put in the back burner. You know why? They did not focus much on Taiwan issue because, as I said, China did not have a proper army, did not have a proper navy. China was more concerned about redevelopment of China as a superpower. So their energy and thought was invested in making China a superpower rather than focusing on Taiwan. And in the next few phases after 1958, China started to have a dialogue with the United States of America. So that is the reason why we will discuss the United States of America's policy in Taiwan, which is called as the strategic ambiguity, which we will discuss. So China in the second phase started to redevelop themselves as a superpower and then have negotiations and dialogues with the United States of America. So the issue of Taiwan was forgotten. But in 1995, when the president of Taiwan when he came to the Cornell University in the United States of America, Chinese took it as a provocation again and started to war and create controversies. And that is when the then President of the United States of America, Bill Clinton, again sent a naval fleet in support of Taiwan and to defend Taiwan. And finally, when the US naval fleet came, China had to turn back and the issue de-escalated actually. So that is something that you need to, that was the third Taiwan Strait crisis. So first 1 and 2 was started in 1954-58, and with the advent of US Navy, it turned off, and again in 1995, the third crisis was also turned back by China. And the fourth one, which we said, is obviously the visit of Nancy Pelosi. So this is the different Taiwan Strait crisis that we need to understand. The next important question is, what is the American stand on the Taiwan-China issue? And as I just previously said, the American stand is on Taiwan is strategic ambiguity. So what exactly is the strategic ambiguity? Is that still, even though it supports Taiwan, right from 1954, America has been defending Taiwan against China. The strategic ambiguity part clearly mentioned that in case even though America recognizes only one China, in many of the previous statements, it has recognized one China, which is the mainland China, but it has also made it clear that in case of a military invasion happening, definitely America will defend Taiwan against China. So previously there was strategic ambiguity mentioned, but in recent times, including Nancy Pelosi and even the President of the United States, Joe Biden, they have continuously, time and again, contradicted and said that in case of a military crisis coming in, America will definitely defend Taiwan against China. So the American stance is also shifting in favor of Taiwan, which is against China. The next important aspect is regarding the recognition of Taiwan. I'm bringing the point of two Chinas again in the situation because, how is the world treating Taiwan as a nation or Republic of China? And it is to be noted that until 1971, the Republic of China used to represent the whole of mainland China, including the mainland China, and they were the one China that the world used to appreciate and acknowledge until 1971. That means even in many international organizations and even in United Nations Security Council, the Republic of China, Taiwan used to take a seat by representing the whole of China. But after 71, many of the diplomatic channels and diplomatic status were cut down, and the world maybe at one point of time realized that the Republic of China or Taiwan did not represent the interests and aspirations of a larger China. And that was a moment when many of the status that Republic of China or Taiwan, when it used to represent China, was cut down, diplomatically cut down, as many of them believe that they are not representing China. And slowly, the United Nations as well as the other international organizations switched to the mainland China. They switched to the mainland China and left back Taiwan. So Taiwan was slowly falling down, and many international organizations and countries stopped recognizing Taiwan as China, and that fell down to almost 15 countries. So probably only 15 nations or organizations in the world still recognize Taiwan as China. And definitely both of them are different political entities, and now the mainland China, the People's Republic of China, is one of the most superpowers in the country. So that is why China has a might. But still, what is the legal status of Taiwan is still absolutely unclear. We have almost discussed the important aspects of Taiwan, China, United States of America. Even though Taiwan is actually facing an existential crisis about its legality and its existence, one thing that the world really wants and remembers Taiwan is for the computer chips or the semiconductor industry that Taiwan is powering. Almost majority of your computers, laptops, mobile phones, smartwatches, and the computer chips, semiconductors, almost half of the world's production of this semiconductor computer chips comes from Taiwan. So definitely you must have known that fact. So Taiwan plays a very strategic importance in the world regarding the production of computer chips. But definitely, as I said, it faces a big existential crisis, and we don't know what are the next factors that will happen in the Taiwan Strait crisis. So I think you got a very good idea about the Taiwan Strait crisis. And this is ExplainWallah for IAS, and I am Arjun R. Shaankar. So keep listening to ExplainWallah, subscribe LearnStroke IAS classes.